Yes, January 18th, big march in Washington D.C. A call to action for defenders of human and environmental rights. Um, so please, ma'am, please, sir, consider that um, on your calendar when it comes to January. Then the Women's March is going to be the next day. We have with us um, someone who's going to be participating in the march, but also has some other another very important experience to share, and we appreciate her joining us at this hour. Uh, Nathalie Farfan. Natalie, am I pronouncing your first name or your full
It's
name correctly?
perfect.
Oh,
It's
it is?
perfect.
Oh, good, wonderful. Thank you for joining us. How are you
Good
today?
morning, Mark. I'm well. Thank you for having me, and thank you for honoring Indigenous Peoples March because that is a big part of my agenda today on the show, in addition to my experience at the border.
Well, first of all, talk to us about your experience at the border. What was going on?
Well, so I went specifically to the border to see things out. It was a few weeks prior to the caravan arriving to Tijuana, and then I went to volunteer with a nonprofit called CARA, CARA Pro Bono, and what they are. They're a bunch of pro bono immigration lawyers and interpreters. I was one of the interpreters for one of these many lawyers. And what we do, we went to Dilley, Texas. It's the detention center is called Core Civic. They are the second most profitable private jail in the country, and they are also the ones responsible for housing and detaining mothers and children seeking asylum. And that was really my mission during that week, just a couple of weeks ago, interpreting for these women that do not know English, do not understand what exactly allows them asylum. And a lot of them come with horrific, horrific stories.
Mm,
I mean, Mark, I left that place, after doing, after at least interpreting for 60 women, I left there with PTSD,
mm,
and I did not think that I would encounter this
mm.
post my time there. But that is how traumatic these stories are. When you're talking to a woman and she's on her way leaving gang violence from Honduras, which is a majority of the women I saw and interpreted for were from Honduras. And she's coming with her 9-year-old daughter, all to get gang raped right in Mexico right before she got to the U.S. by Border Patrol officers.
She was gang raped by Border Patrol officers?
That is right. And the reason why I say gang rape is because at the end of the day, we have police officials that behave like gangs,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
and they do things. And there's still a sense of, at the end of the day, it's this lack of respect for humanity. But, I can't speak on all the asylum seekers that are male. I only dealt with the women and their children. And it's horrific what they have to go through in their country and what they had to endure coming here to get to this side of the world. And to have to hear a 9-year-old cry to me and tell me what that experience was like, how her virginity was just stolen 8 days ago at the border by some border patrols there, it's traumatizing. And clearly there's a human rights violation happening through this whole asylum process.
Wow. This was in Dilley. How long ago was this, Natalie?
This was about a little over a week ago now. I want
Okay.
to say 2 weeks ago, I was in Dilley, Texas. I was there for a week. And Dilley, Texas is, yeah, it's one of the main housings for all asylum seekers when they're women with children under 17 years of age.
Mm-hmm. So, in terms of the way it was set up there, were the women and children in this facility kept together, or were they separated?
Well, they were there was one section where we got to do the interpretation, but we were not allowed. The nonprofit that's helping, we're not allowed to go see how they're staying, how their bunks look like their rooms where they sleep. And so what we did is that we try to ask them as many questions to understand that they're still living in a place of safety, because a lot of these women don't have a good perspective. They just got
Mm-hmm.
raped coming here. So in
Mm-hmm.
their mind, maybe getting raped inside a jail is okay because they're still getting fed. So we were asking these questions, and it seems like there's a lot of women to one little room with a lot of children. What I saw was a lot of sick children, with rashes, completely just with mucus and women coughing. One little baby had a fever for 4 days, and when I got to interview her, he looked like he was on his last thread of hydration and life. And when I asked her, have they given him any kind of medicine to lower his fever? She's
Mm-hmm.
like, I've been asking for it, but they just don't believe that he needs it. And so we made a quick request to ICE, which we are allowed to when we see that there's like health issues. And hopefully she got the medicine. I had to leave shortly after that. So these are the things that we're dealing with. We're dealing with kids, and Mark, they're not 15-year-old kids. The
Right,
majority of those
right.
kids there were 2, 3, and 4 year olds.
Terrible.
You have these security guards or these COs, these guards there screaming at little kids because they're crying. I mean, this is what we're dealing with. And I hate to say this, but a lot of these guards were actually Latino people living in Texas who don't even associate to their own people for a paycheck, not realizing that they only have a job on the backs of victims.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Um, Unbelievable. And so
Yeah.
so you said you got PTSD. What are you doing? I mean, how are you dealing with that?
Well, for one, I'm a spiritual healer um by day and night. I have a community called La Brujas Club where a lot of what I do is I host gatherings and we talk about ancestral trauma, and I heal them through advice, through spiritual advice, and through different rituals that allows us to kind of self-care. So I realize that there's only one person that needs that more than ever right now, and it's actually me. So when I got back from Dili, I slept one whole day. I cried it out, and crying does help. I cried it out one whole day where I had this heaviness in my heart for these women who I couldn't help anymore. And the other part that I did is that I'm actually going through like a writing process now, and I'm chronicling my experience there, which I don't do often, and I think this is helping me. It's like my therapy, I think.
Okay, okay. Um, Tell us a little bit more about you, Natalie. Where are you from?
Well, my family is from Ecuador,
Okay,
both father and mother. I was raised mostly in New Jersey, though, so I am a child of an immigrant. So born and raised in New Jersey,
okay.
and have been doing a lot of the work for our indigenous people, not just in Ecuador, but Native Americans here. And where I got the big calling, so to speak, was when I went to Standing Rock a few
Mm-hmm.
years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And I met amazing people. I had the Lakota and Dakota tribe and elders take me in and really show me the way and teach me. I went there with so much anger as this American. I'm like, I hate these white colonizers. What are we gonna do? And their response was like, we're going to change this whole thing with love.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what was so astonishing, so beautiful to me. I was an angry Latina ready to go to the front lines, and just whatever it took. And they're like, no, 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 we're going there and we're going to fight with love.
So, and in terms of being Ecuadorian or
Mhm.
Ecuadorian, I should say, what
Yeah.
help our audience understand, because some people see people in Latin America and even
Mhm.
people in South America as just that, Latin Americans, South Americans,
Mhm.
but
Mhm.
they don't necessarily see that these are indigenous people, that
That is that
that
is correct.
that folk
That is
y'all were here before Columbus, and
right.
uh, y'all didn't teach him Spanish. He colonized y'all with Spanish. So,
Right. Well, it was the Spanish conquistadors that really came and colonized a lot of Latin America, which is why, to your point, we know Spanish. There's a lot of Latinos that are like, oh, I know my language, Spanish. Spanish is not our language. No one that was from
right,
South or Central America should be speaking Spanish
right.
unless this is just proof that we were colonized so badly that we don't even have our own tongue. It's not native to us. So, like Quichua, Quichua is a tongue that's very native to my people in
Hmm.
Ecuador, of the Amazon, from the Peru and Ecuador origin specifically. And I don't know an ounce of Quichua because growing up, my mom and my grandma said those are for Indians only. And we don't want to be associated with an Indian mark. I have an interesting story for you.
Please.
All my life, I had an Indian nose. And by an Indian nose, indigenous nose, I mean like it was bigger, it had the bumps, you know, big profile. And my mom would always say, one day when you're older, we're going to get rid of that Indian nose.
Mm.
Okay. Fast forward, I go to Ecuador, and a family member who's a doctor there was like, oh, that nose of yours. Don't worry, I have the right surgeon who can get it done tomorrow. I was only at the ripe age of 21, still discovering myself. And I said, okay, you know what? If this is what my family thinks, and I went and got a nose, a new nose. I got a Spaniard nose, okay?
What?
And the reason why I talk about it so candidly is because it's not that I'm against plastic surgery, okay? If I needed to do a surgery again, I probably would. But you know what? I did it for all the wrong reasons, and it was to hide my indigenous roots.
Wow. That's
And I say that because now I'm 35. I'm a grown woman. I'm a mother, and I don't want. And guess what? Guess who's gonna probably have my nose? My son,
isn't
because
that
you
something?
cannot run away from your genes.
How old is your son?
He's 4.5.
Okay. So
Yeah, so one day
basically,
it's gonna come out. That little cute nose is gonna be a bigger cute nose, and I want him to embrace that is indigenous
so
to
so
us.
so basically, Natalie, you are the Ecuadorian Michael Jackson.
minus the lightening of the skin, yes, but yes, and minus the genius that he was. But yes, absolutely, I did it, and I have to own it, Mark, because you know what?
Yeah, no, I mean, it's a
Because
good story, it's good to instruct people. You know what you did, and you did it for the wrong reason. That's helpful.
yeah, yeah,
That's
and also
helpful.
it's to your point. Yes, Central and South America, we're all indigenous people, and unfortunately, there's a lot of colorism even within our country. And the people that are from like the Amazon or the
Yeah,
mountains,
yeah,
they're
that
looked down
happens.
upon
Yeah.
by the whiter people in Ecuador that live in the cities.
And there's no, as an African American, there's no difference between us, the skin, the nose. I
Right.
remember once I was with some folk, and there was some brothers from Africa, and the people around me said, "Oh, they have an accent." I said, "No, they don't have an accent. You do. You
Right.
have the English accent. That's how
Right.
you supposed to be talking like they're talking, not the other way around. They're not supposed to be talking like you." But
That's right.
and I confess, and it may seem small to some what I'm about to say, but I wonder how many other people consciously do this. I no longer see um, many people from Mexico and where you're from, and people who are generally called Latinos. I don't see that anymore. I see Native Americans.
That's so. That's that's great. I even got goosebumps. Funny. Yes, I do too. And it took me many years because before I used to be like, oh no, he's Puerto Rican. Oh, he's Ecuadorian. Oh no, that guy's Mexican. And as a Latino, you have so much pride in identifying the different
Right,
types of Latinos,
right,
right?
right, right.
And now I look at all these Latinos, I'm like,
Yeah, I
all
don't even
these
get into all
cultures
that.
have been colonized.
Yeah,
We're all indigenous. And
yeah,
this is why the Indigenous Peoples March on January 18th in DC is so important because it's going to be the first time in history that all these different tribes from North, Central, and South America are going to come together, look at each other in the face, and be like, oh, we have not been standing in solidarity the way we've had to.
yeah,
And this is why we're here now.
yeah,
So I'm hoping that's part of the conversation. You know, the committee behind the Indigenous Peoples March, they're reaching out. And we've been in touch with a lot of different tribal leaders, both federally recognized and non-federally recognized. And they're amped, and I think it's going to be a good one.
yeah. No, I think it's going to be very important and historic occasion. But I don't. Again, I don't see. That's who I see and what I see, and pardon me. In doing so, I can also, you speak about certain cultures. I can also tell which ones don't see themselves that way. Which ones
Amen.
don't see who they are.
Mm-hmm.
As an African, Natalie, I always I always say to people, and the reason I'm happy to have these conversations and promote and support this march is because of the scholarship which showed that Africans came here to North and South America before Columbus and established trade with indigenous people as far back as the 1300s. So we were all right. We were
Right.
dealing with each other's cultures and civilizations in a way they should have been dealt with. And then
Right.
the European conquerors came in and changed all of that. Again, I recommend everybody read the book. They came before Columbus.
Right. Who were
Um,
the Vikings, right? Even before Columbus were the Vikings.
that's
But they
right.
came and the Native Americans were not having it.
That's right.
They left, but then Columbus came and then kind of just massacred our people, our
Yeah,
native people.
no question about it. So what's happening is very very critical and important. Um, 866 99 Serious. So again, folks, the Indigenous Peoples March is coming up on January 18th. I'll be there. We all should be there to support it. So what else? What else are you doing, Natalie? You're doing the spiritual healing, uh, and obviously you've been an interpreter. Are you an attorney as well?
I'm not an attorney, no.
Okay. So, but what else are you doing? I know that's not all you're doing. What else are you doing?
Well, I'm by day I'm a content developer for different companies. I consult on content marketing and strategy. My volunteer work is translating, interpreting for all these asylum-seeking mothers and children,
Right.
and that's kind of been my other part-time job throughout this whole year. I'm going back to Dilley, Texas for Christmas, so I'll be doing that as well. And
Really?
La Brujas Club is it's a spiritual wellness community that I founded in 2000, and it's for women of color, it's for Latinas, it's for Indigenous, it's for Black women, it's for all of us that have been oppressed, like the LGBTQ community. And what we offer is a safe place to have candid conversations, to decolonize our minds, and hopefully to get rid of that ancestral trauma that has us still feeling oppressed.
So you're going to go back to Dilley for Christmas and serve as an interpreter.
That's right.
Wow, that's amazing. Because
I
Christmas,
was there for
they
Thanksgiving, so that was the week I was
oh,
there
that
the
was
last
Thanksgiving.
time. Now,
So,
yeah, now I'm going for Christmas.
and these families are in that situation, and they still have to have some kind of Christmas somehow.
Unfortunately, Mark, that's where it's at. But I tell you what, these are the most. I was I was interpreting for this lawyer who's amazing from Oklahoma. Shout out to you, Lori, and she's the whitest woman you'll meet. I mean, she's from Oklahoma all her life. And after we were finished interpreting, or going through like 60 women, by the end of the day, she looked at me and she wanted me to give a message to one of the asylum moms. And I guess she went and practiced this. She's like, I want you to translate what I'm about to say. And I'm like, okay. And she said in English, you Latina women, you're made of steel. Us white women, we're weak compared to you.
Mm, mm,
And,
mm.
that lady smiled and cried, but it was a sense of validation. Like, if the white woman thinks I'm strong, then I am strong,
Yeah, yeah.
and I was so grateful to that line. But it's also like we've always been this resilient. Indigenous people, we would have already been completely wiped out in 2018 if it wasn't because we were resilient.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's interesting to say that, the movie Say Her Name, Sandra Bland,
Yeah.
premiered on HBO Monday night. And we
Mm.
had the directors here, both of whom are white, a husband and wife couple. Sandra's sister is a family attorney. And then we had a Q&A session at a screening last night in Lower Manhattan that I moderated. And there were white women there in the audience, excuse me, who still, for some, can't understand and comprehend that kind of stuff still happens to
Mm.
women of color.
Right.
And not in a bad way. They just didn't know. They just, how does this happen? What happens? Yeah. And so to hear you tell that story, there was almost an admission to that effect last night from white
Mm.
women saying that they just didn't know and don't get it, and the privilege that they enjoy that others don't, that other women of color don't. So that's
There you
very
go.
important, and that's why what white women did in the midterms was important. Finally coming around,
Yeah.
and hopefully that will remain the case. And obviously at the march, I mean, the march isn't restricted to Indigenous people. Those in
No,
solidarity
and
with Indigenous
right,
people should
and I
come
want to
too,
be
right?
clear about that, Mark. Yeah,
Okay.
all walks of life are welcome. We want everyone, and we want our white women, white men, allies, and co-conspirators. Like, we want you there. We need you there
Mm-hmm.
as well. So please join us for the Indigenous Peoples March on January 18th at 9 a.m. is going to be the start time, but 10 a.m. officially we begin the march.
Yeah.
And it's the day before the Women's March. For anyone who's going down there for the Women's March, it'd be good to do a weekend and kind of support both.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's get a quick call in before we run. Travis is in Virginia. Travis, God bless you. Good morning. Get woke. Get ready for impeachment. You're on the air with Nathalie Farfan of the Indigenous Peoples March and also of La Brujas Club. Go right ahead, Travis.
Semper Fi, get ready for impeachment. My wife, she's Bolivian, and we went to the Native American Museum for the first time, and the curator there looked at my wife and goes, "Oh, who are your people?" And she was taken aback for a second, and she was like, she points at me and goes, "He's my people." And I just nod my head, and I looked at the curator. I was like, "My wife, she's Bolivian. She's mostly Incan." He goes, "Oh, okay, that's kind of cool." So even though my wife is Bolivian, it doesn't really strike her immediately that she's Native American. And it's kind of weird because my father-in-law, who I live with, can speak Quechua. It's kind of weird that she acknowledges a lot of the Bolivian practices, like the burning of what is it called? The
Palo
mummified
Santo?
llama and what's that, ma'am?
Is that Palo Santo she burns?
I'm sorry, I didn't catch that.
I say she's burning Palo Santo or sage, which is also part of South American rituals.
Right, correct. At our wedding, her aunt took water and sprinkled our presents. It's a mixture of Catholic and indigenous people's practices. So a lot of their rituals and stuff they do are a mixture of Catholic and indigenous people's practices. So like we had to do like a special dance or whatever during the wedding, and it's kind of weird. Like you, as the man, you kind of hunch your shoulders over like you have a heavy blanket, and it's sort of like an interesting dance. All the men had to do it, the groomsmen and all that. So it's weird because it doesn't. She's Latina. She sees herself as Latina. She doesn't have an ounce of Spanish blood whatsoever, and we only know that because my late mother, was obsessed with genealogy. So it's kind of interesting. Even in the Latino world, a lot of them don't see themselves as Native Americans initially. They see themselves as Spaniards or as Mexican or as Guatemalan or Bolivian or Honduran.
And that's the colonization of the brain.
Yeah, you can see that. I mean,
right, Natalie. I mean, that's what we all do. We all want to be something else.
Right, but it goes back to decolonizing our history and our mind.
Yeah.
You know, he's right. You're completely right, sir. It's like even myself. I'm a Latina woman with an indigenous bloodline, with an indigenous nose I couldn't deny. And even then, you would ask me where I'm from, and I'm like, I'm Latin American. This is the first time people are starting to say, oh, you know what? We're all indigenous, and we're probably more indigenous than we are European.
Yeah, it's so weird because indigenous people in North America and Canada, they say, oh yeah, I'm this tribe or I'm here, I'm over there. They speak English, but they
even when you say it out loud, I mean, to even say Latin America is almost Latin America. To say one is Latin American is almost vulgar, Natalie, because if you're an indigenous person and you claim the name and the title of the person who colonized you, I mean, so people shouldn't even say I'm Latin American. Just say I'm colonized. If that's what you want to say.
Right.
And who wants to say that? Who wants to? Hey, what's your name? I'm colonized. Who are you? Colonized. Completely. I mean, that's not a flattering thing to say about yourself or somebody. So, I mean, people don't understand what is Latin America. There's no such thing.
Right.
Latin America. There's no such thing. That's the colonization by the Latin countries of your people, of your land. They killed your ancestors. There's nothing to be proud of.
The Hispanic realm. And you know what's really funny? I'm working with a few people that are trying to get, there's a Spaniard organization in New York that gives money to Native American movements, ironically. But the funny part is that now Spaniards are saying that they're part of the Latin American movement. And I'm like, no, you're not. You literally are the reason why we don't even know we're indigenous.
Explain that. How can they claim to be part of what do they mean?
This is the catch, right? With all these catchy marketing phrases like Latin America or Hispanic, which in essence, Hispanic means anyone who speaks Spanish.
Yeah.
But the reason why that's such a horrible term is because what you're saying is that once again, the Spaniards have won. Hispanic means it's their world,
right?
And we fall under their world,
right?
And we have to try to cut those cords.
You need to cut that out. Need to cut that out. There ought to be a cultural movement to get people who call themselves Latin American and Hispanic to refer to themselves as indigenous. That should be.
Well, Mark, maybe this march gets us going in that direction. I'm hoping.
Yeah, no, we got to do that. Travis, I got to go. But just to be clear, so your wife does not claim to be your wife does not claim to be an indigenous. Is that what you're telling us?
Yeah, in a way, she sees herself as Bolivian, but I mean, she doesn't necessarily see herself as Incan. And
but her father, you said her father does though.
Yeah, her father, he speaks Quechuan and he understands his native background more than she does. But I wanted to add something real fast. I think the difference why a lot of Latin Americans don't serve natives is because the Spaniards, the way they colonized the New World was different than the English and the French. The Spanish raped them into submission. The English just pretty much, to be frank, they shot them in submission. So there was
they raped too. Everybody raped and shot. But let me ask this. Let me ask this, Natalie, of you, because you have this spiritual journey and the spiritual healing institution. Does what you do, Natalie, also help people in that spiritual healing and journey process, help people understand who they really are and where they come from?
Not only understand who they really are, where they come from, but we provide them, La Brujas Club provides us the tools that they need, whether that's
Okay.
literature or whether that's other tools that they need, like resources, so that they could better have this conversation with people who don't understand our struggle as indigenous people. So not only do we speak about it and bring that up and talk about who you are, we also provide the tools so that you can go now into the world and feel free and liberated from the trauma.
Align with your divine. I'm looking at the website right now. So if
That's
so
correct.
so if Travis wanted to bring his wife to La Brujas, would that help her?
Oh my God, so much, Travis. And you know what? I even say you need to come because I feel like you are your wife's ally and co-conspirator. And sometimes it takes someone outside of yourself to be like, you know what? You need to own that part of you. And I have the community that can make you feel welcome.
So Travis, you need to go to labrujasclub.com. Is that the website?
Yeah, La Brujas, and it's LA. La Brujas, BRUJAS, and club, labrujasclub.com. And on Instagram is at La Brujas Club.
Yeah, labrujasclub.com. La Brujas Club on Instagram. And that's the healing process. Folks, I'm sharing the website with you on our stream, Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. Make it plain. So, Travis, thanks for your call, man, okay?
No problem. Peace
All
out.
right, enjoy your day. So, yeah, we need to start a campaign to get people going and call themselves indigenous and challenge that, you know, and then to also, frankly, understand the mix that colonization brought about and why you have, you know, what is called, what we would normally call an Afro-Latino culture, which we would then begin to call, as a result of the argument I'm making, an Afro-Indigenous culture.
Right.
Hello?
There it is.
We're going to start something, Nathalie.
I feel it. When my spirit guides talk to me, Mark, things are happening.
All right. Well, look, it's a pleasure to meet you. Let's stay in close touch.
Will do. Thank you very much.
I'll
for your
see you
time.
no later than a month from now. But
Right.
again, labrujasclub.com, at Indigenous Peoples, PPLS on Twitter, and Indigenous Peoples Movement on Instagram. Nathalie with an H, Farfan, Farfan. She's on Twitter, full name, and on Instagram. Little things stopping, big things popping. That's what she's about.
There you go.
Nathalie, great work. We appreciate you. Okay, keep it up.
Thank you. Light and love to all of you folks.
All right, light and love to you too. Take care now.
Bye-bye.
All right, bye-bye. 866-99-SIRIUS, 866-997-4748. Before we go to, okay, Derek's boarding a flight, so we might have to go. Derek was saying it was too early in the morning for him, but this time of morning he's always getting on a plane, so we may have to renegotiate our contract. Meanwhile, Mario wants to talk to Brittany. So you all want to listen to Mario.
That's interesting.
Talk to he has a comment for Brittany. Mario's in Florida.
Good morning,
Mario.
Mike.
God bless you. Good morning. Get ready for
Good
impeachment.
morning. Hey, I just wanted to point out, man, I think it's too early for us to be making the decision about who should run and who shouldn't on the Democratic Party. Anybody that wants to run should be allowed to run. I'm not a supporter of Joe Biden, nor am I a supporter of a couple of other candidates, but I don't think it's time for us to start disqualifying candidates. I take issue with the fact that Brittany's saying that, hey, she likes Kamala, but she's a woman of color. If we don't acknowledge that the women of color are the one that bailed us out on this last election.
That's not what I said. I'm sorry. I have to interject because that's actually incorrect. I did not say I like her, but she's a woman of color. I said that she is both a woman and a woman of color. Therefore, it's twice as hard a battle to fight. Dude, dude. Calm down. Take a step back.
So what? She's a woman of color.
Oh my! If you let me finish my sentence, you would know what I'm saying. You just want to ramble on. Because first of all, you're not even being honest right now.
You interrupted me when I was talking. You said you.
Yeah, because you were lying. You were absolutely lying. You can't misrepresent me. Call up here and say that I said one thing when I didn't say that.
She said she was a woman and she's a woman of color. So what? That she's a woman.
If you let me finish my sentence, I will complete the thought, Mario.
Hey, Mario.
You're not even letting me get to the end of the sentence.
Let her finish. You're being an asshole.
Yeah, I mean, really. So I said that she has twice a difficult battle to fight, and what we need is a Democratic president. So it might be better suited to select a different candidate. That is my opinion.
So a white version of Obama supposedly can do it, right?
Okay. Well, you know what?
Or because she's a woman or a woman of color shouldn't have.
Okay, Mario, you sound absolutely ridiculous.
Beto lost a statewide race.
No kidding, man. Why do you think that's what makes him capable of running for the presidential office? Is because he lost. What are you calling up to state? You're not making any kind of profound point. Here is what the real deal is. Okay, first of all, you called up and you told our call screener that I don't have enough life experience, right?
You don't.
Okay. First of all, you don't know
You're not in the trenches like what me and some of the other people of color out here in the trenches.
Mario.
So, Mario, let's
You're
be
making assumptions about who I am as a person. You know absolutely nothing about me. You don't know anything about me. Zero. First of all, okay? Second of all, I'm a voting citizen. That is what makes me qualified to weigh in on who should be running for president. Okay, no. That's what makes me qualified, period. Beyond that, I'm a political news producer. Part of my job is to show up here and give my opinion. So I'm not sure where you think you received the authority to set the standard for who can and cannot provide their opinion on who should run for presidential elections. But what I do know is that it's my job to give my opinion here. What I don't know is why you felt the need to call up here and attempt to condescend me. I'm sorry to burst your bubble, but you can't knock me down. My feet are firmly planted, man, okay? And you waited more than 20 minutes to say what? What are you even saying? What is constructive about your call? You know absolutely nothing about me, so it can't have anything to do with me.
That's not
and
what
has
you said,
everything to do with you. Your call says more about you than it does about me.
Okay,
so you know what?
The women and women of color says more about me than this.
Mario, you are mixing up my words. You have not listened to anything I said. You just wanted to call up here and railroad your opinion, but it's wrong. What you are saying is not what I said. So why don't you go back to the on-demand replay, take another listen, and then if you have something actually constructive to say, then why don't you give a call back and we can actually talk about it. Otherwise, I am absolutely bored with your point. Goodbye.
But here's the question, Mario. Do you support Kamala Harris? Mario? Did he hang up? Do you support Kamala Harris?
I will. I could.
So I don't understand. So I don't understand what you getting up. I don't understand what you tripping about.
I would love to see Andrew Gillum run, but he lost the race. I don't think I should elevate him. Even though I knew why he really lost this race here in Florida. That's all I'm saying.
He don't even know if he support Kamala Harris.
See, you just heard a woman speaking, and that you had some kind of reflexive action to call up here and tell me what I was wrong about. And honestly, I have no time for people like you. Like I said, you cannot condescend me. It just can't happen. So.
Well, you directed at her. You attacked her. So what do you want me to do?
You told our call screener I don't have enough life experience. What does that even mean? You don't know who I am. You don't know what I've experienced in my life. So what do you like? There's absolutely nothing constructive about calling up here with judgments that are completely baseless.
Yeah, but see, that's a shot at me now. But the reality is he's taking a shot at me. Mario has a problem with me too.
Mario.
So the question is. So the question is, why are you listening? Why are you even around, dude?
Get a hobby. Do something else. You're saying that
what you're saying. What is that?
Well, you just made this comment about is it my show or hers? First of all.
Yeah, because you cut me off. I'm saying.
But I know what you're trying to do, Mario. You think somebody could really sit in here and work with me next to me every day and say the thing you want to attribute to her? Because I know what you're trying to say she said, and she didn't say that.
Absolutely not.
All right. I mean, I'm smart enough to know what you're up to.
What I'm saying is women of color deserve the same chance, whether it's a woman or a woman of color.
And I elevate that fact on an almost daily basis sitting here in my job.
But you don't even support a woman of color for president.
No, I said I'll support anybody at this point, but there's no time.
But see, that's exactly it. You just called up here to say what I did wrong, what you perceived I did wrong. This conversation is a waste of time. Can we get rid of him, please?
All right,
It's just
Mario,
it's such a waste of time.
All right, bro. We got to go because you're not making any sense.
How can you assess what like the capabilities of another person when you don't have any idea? And like, I have no problem with him, insulting me or trying to. That's totally fine because, we're up here on the radio, like it's basically a given.
I should have put you on camera for this.
But first of all, do
mad.
not misstate what I said because I did not say, oh, she's a woman, but a woman of color. No, we all go back on demand. Everyone is free to go back to the top of the hour and hear what I said. But it's just... I didn't realize that he was the one who would be qualifying people or not for voting and for providing opinions on 2020. Good to know, though. Everyone,
but see, you saw
check
how,
with Mario. You
can
say, speak publicly about
politics.
politics.
You were talking about how I got defensive yesterday. It's like Jim, dude. These little nitpicky people. And they just they got to come up with something. They don't really have nothing else to do because he got personal issues.
Hobby.
We got to take a break, don't we? Okay, Sirius X in Progress 127, Resistance Radio, Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. In a rare moment, both Brittany and Andrew are on screen. Watch them. Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. Make it plain. Yes, they are. You can see them in the flesh. There they go. Right there. And on Instagram at Minister. Wave, Brittany. This is MIP.
This is MIP. Get woke.
Love, I fly to you, much wiser since my goodbye to you. I'm getting ready for my orange jumpsuit from Russia, with love. We'll spend more time on the Mueller sentencing document. And there were 3 aspects of it I was trying to get some of you to pick up. And you got 2 of them. Mary Ellen got 2 of them. Let's see if you can get the 3rd one. We'll recap those at the top of the hour. Don't go away. Sirius XM Progress 127 Resistance Radio. Get woke. Get ready for impeachment. This is MIP.